全力以赴、进锐出战、主动应对，发扬全力迎战大洪水。今日，武汉市人民政府新闻办公室在这里召开新闻发布会，邀请有关方面负责同志向大家通报相关情况。出席今天新闻发布会的有关方面。
Taking Wuhan at a critical moment of flood control, Wuhan People's Government has been implementing the instructions of General Secretary Xi Jinping about controlling the flood disaster. Throughout the whole municipality, we have been going all out to take an active approach against the flood. We will do our utmost to brace ourselves for this flood. Today, we are holding this presser with certain experts in those respective departments to offer you the updates. Now, I would love to present to the experts. Deputy Director General of the Flood Control Headquarters, Deputy Director Chen Jianjun. From the Municipal Emergency Response Bureau, Yu Siyuan. From the Meteorological Bureau, Tang Renmao, and Madam Yan Fan. And also from the Public Security Bureau, Director Pan Feng. Today, we have also invited the Deputy Chief Engineer from the Ministry of Water Resources, Mr. Chen Guiya. First of all, let's give the floor to Mr. Tang Renmao from the Municipal Meteorological Bureau. Dear media friends, good morning. Now, I would love to brief you about the weather situations in those days. Yesterday morning, we have the cloudy day and with some sporadic rainfalls from about 13 o'clock. In the majority of the districts, the rainfall was below 1 millimeters, and the highest temperature was 28.3 Celsius degree, and the lowest temperature was 21 Celsius degree. So the whole city has some sporadic rainfalls. And on the 16th, with the pressure influence, we have the intermediate level of rainfall. And up until today, the rainfall has decreased. And there will be some rainfall today. And this will continue in the next 3 days. In details, today is going to be cloudy with some rainfalls, and at night, particularly in southern part of the city, there will be the northern wind with the temperature at about 27 to 29 Celsius degree. For tomorrow, there will be clouds and the intermediate level rainfalls, and the temperature will be 27 degrees. For 2 days later, the temperature will be 23 to 28 Celsius degrees. Thank you. Next, let's give the floor to Mr. Chen Jianjun to give us the information about the flood control situation. Good morning, dear media friends. Now I'm going to brief you about the flood situation. At 8 o'clock this morning, the water level is about 28.67 meters in Yangtze River. As to Han River, the newest water level is 29 meters, and it has been at this level for 9 days in a row. At 8 o'clock this morning in Tongjia River, the water level is about 28.8 meters. It's already above the level in our requirement, and it's below the flood control limit. As to Yangtze River, in the Wuhan section, we have entered the highest level of the water level. It's about 28.77, and the volume was about 50,000 cubic meters. Ever since we have been keeping the record, we have been broken the record ever since 1954, 1990, 9, and we're still under a severe situation of flood control. So our headquarters will continue the second level of emergency response in order to guarantee that we will be fully prepared for this flood. We will give top priority to flood control and be united together and rise up to this difficulty. With our persistence, we will carry on the spirit of flood control, and we will respond to the instructions with scientific coordination. Our mentality, responsibility, and personnel and materials will all be in place. For every reservoir and the other emergency places, those people responsible for those sections will stay on post. Ever since the flood is here with us, we will never leave our post, and we will respond to the requirement of the emergency response to implement our responsibilities. Secondly, we will have highlights in our work. In Yangtze River, most of the reservoirs will be within our responsibilities to guarantee their safety, particularly with no influence over the transportation lines. That will be our highlights of our flood control measures. We will mobilize resources nationwide to prepare for flood control. In some key sections and key districts, we will give top priority. We will increase the frequency of our monitoring. Every day, we will have 24/7 monitoring of those particular regions. For those water levels already above the warning line, we will have 24 hours of monitoring day and night. After 2016, some of those places may have experienced those water level above water line. They will be the dangerous places, so we will optimize our measures so that our materials and personnel will be ready for those dangerous places. We will maximize our efforts in flood control in the city. We will also prevent any geological hazards. For example, the landslide in some section because of the rainfall. We will immediately organize the civilians for evacuation. As to the construction sites, we will try to dispel those hazards to avoid any electricity shock or other secondary hazards. We will also relocate the personnel in those dangerous places to relocate them to some safe places with our routes already prepared. Thirdly, we will mobilize all resources to strengthen our efforts. With such severe situation, our headquarters will continue our efforts in personnel guarantee. We will organize the community workers, the enterprise employees, and all others to work for this cause. We will have 24/7 on posts. Even for the police and Public Security Bureau, the personnel will be always ready for diving into this effort. We actually abide by the standards even higher than those in 1998. At any minute, we will guarantee that those resources will be mobilized and be in place. As to the transportation, telecommunication, and the cables, we must guarantee that they are in order. And for the midterm and long term, we will enhance the accuracy of the weather forecast so as to estimate scientifically the fluctuation of the flood in the future. And we will publish those rainfall information to our civilians on time. And now for Yangtze River, it's still facing a severe situation of flood and high water level. We will stay alert so as to take sustained efforts in controlling the flood so that our city will not be locked and people's life and safety will be ensured. We must win this battle of controlling the flood. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Now let's give the floor to Mr. Yu Siyuan to brief us about the emergency response situation in the city. Good morning, dear media friends. Now I would like to brief you about the flood control emergency response efforts. Firstly, according to the second-level emergency response requirement, we must go all out to control this flood disaster with our coordination efforts. Firstly, we have a scientific layout and arrangement. For the transportation teams, we have optimized their composition. We have built 8 such teams, each team composed of 6 personnel in Hankou, Wuchang, Hanyang stations. We have put them in the posts, and we must guarantee that for any direction subjected to the flood, we will have the professionals always on the posts. For every team, we guarantee that there will be 1 engineer and 1 cager from the Emergency Bureau to stay on post 24/7 for immediate guidance. So the Emergency Response Bureau is coordinating closely with all the other departments and divisions in the city. For now, those emergency response teams have always been on call 24/7 with enough materials. They have been loaded sufficiently on the trucks with smooth logistics in place. Thirdly, examination of those dangers. We have been urging all the city to check any possible hazard and danger to guarantee that this disaster will be reported immediately ever since the outbreak and to minimize the injuries to the people and to the properties. Up until July the 14th, there has been no person injured because of the flood, so we have basically guaranteed the basic lives of our civilians. In some districts, we are coordinating the distribution of the rescue materials like the beds and so on. So the relocation, transfer of materials have been in order with our guidance to different districts of Wuhan City. We are guaranteeing that the people have been evacuated safely and soundly. They will have enough necessities for their usage. So our people affected by the flood will have convenient life. For the next step, according to the arrangement of the municipal people's government, we will further detailize the responsibilities so that we will act upon any call to fight against the flood. Thank you, Mr. Yu. Now let's give the floor to Madame Yan Fan from the Sports Bureau. Dear media friends, good morning. Now I'm gonna brief you about the information about canceling the 716 festival about crossing the river. The 46 Crossing the River festival has been prepared ever since mid-May, and the civilians in Wuhan has been paying high attention to this festival. But because of the strong rainfall in Yangtze River leading to high water levels of Han River, so by about July 14th, the water level in Yangtze River has been risen to 28.63 meters above the emergency level, so the whole city has been under severe pressure of flood control. According to the forecast, the Yangtze River will continue to rise in terms of the water level above the warning line. So according to the 2020-46 July the 16th overall master plan, once the water level has reached the warning line at 27.3 meters, to guarantee the safety of our personnel, we will cancel the 46 July 16th Crossing River Festival. We ask for your consideration and your understanding. Thank you. Now let's give the floor to Madame Pan Feng from the Public Security Bureau of Wuhan to brief us about cracking down upon the false information and the rumors in order to guarantee the transportation. Dear media friends, good morning. Wuhan Municipal Public Security Bureau has been kickstarting the flood control efforts In June, we have established our headquarters for flood control guidance and coordination. We have our patrolling teams to coordinate the flood control efforts in different departments. And in July, we have published the implementation plan of flood control. Different divisions have put in place their respective teams for flood control. And with 24/7 posts, we are ready for the flood control. So according to the requirement, Public Security Bureau is working together with Meteorological Bureau and Water Resource Bureau to update each other about the flood situation and to consult with each other about the measures. And Public Security Bureau has been honoring our functionalities with our patrolling efforts along Yangtze River for the key bridges. We are checking the signals to guarantee telecommunication and to contribute to the whole city's flood control efforts. Also, we launched the high-level intelligence platform with 4 stations in place. 500 public security personnel have been on posts. The whole bureau has been setting up one station in one water gate to guarantee that each water gate is under our monitoring. We have already dispatched 58,000 police with about 1,100 police vehicles. We have participated fully in serving the people and in flood control. Also, for the Transportation Control Bureau, they dispatch about 3,000 personnel every day to guarantee transportation in the key roads and key sections, to ensure that there will be a smooth transportation of those specific vehicles for the purpose of flood control. Now we are under severe pressure, but there are some false information on the website hampering the overall social stability and flood control efforts in the city. So we have been cracking down heavily on those false information, and we have already put 2 people spreading the rumors in custody according to the law. Meanwhile, some rumors are about our city's flood control situation, and we have set up a local responsibility system, and we ask those people to delete the false information on the website. Madam Wu, living in Jiangxia district, has been spreading the rumor in WeChat about the 2016 flood, saying that the downtown area in Wuhan City has been totally destroyed with the transportation directly hit. So we will give penalty to Madam Wu on July the 6th. Male, Mr. Gao, living in Qiaokou district, has also been spreading the rumor about the parking lots being blocked with the water, and that video has been falsely made. So Public Security Bureau has been working according to the law to penalize that person, and that person has already apologized on the website. So to guarantee the social order during the flood control period, for different illegal behaviors, the Public Security Bureau takes a zero-tolerance attitude to crack down upon those criminal behaviors, and we encourage the civilians to report to us once you discover such rumors. Thank you, Madam Pan. Now let's open the floor to our reporters. Please identify yourself before you raise the question. The madam sitting in the 3rd row. From Hubei TV, I would love to know, what is the overall precipitation in Wuhan City? And what is the feature? What about the historical record, particularly compared to 1998? Let's give the question to Tang Renmao. Thank you for your question. Ever since we entered the plum rain season, we are at 7 level of precipitation. Most of the places have about 500 to 800 mm of precipitation. In some areas of the city, it reaches 900. As to Wuhan City, particularly, In Huangpi, it's about 672. For Jiangxia, it's 682 mm. So the majority of our districts have been about 2 times more the rainfall compared to the average. And we're already making the 3rd place right after 1991 and 1996. As to the features of this rainfall, it's mainly including the following. We start early in the plum rain season, lasting for 9 days ever since June, and there have been about 36 days of rainfall already. And it's heavy rain. According to the statistics, the precipitation is right next to 1991 and 2016 as to the total number of precipitation. The second feature is high intensity. There may be 2 to 3 times of strong rainfall in one day. In Jiangxia district, the precipitation is about 1109 mm, and the daily precipitation is about 472. That's already hitting the maximum in the district. And particularly in the nighttime, there have been lightning and rainfall. Compared to 2016 level, the features are like the following. Firstly, high intensity. Even though the intensity is not as much as 1998, but it's much stronger than 2016. Secondly, as to the total precipitation level, we are smaller than 2016 but higher than 1998. In 1998, the average precipitation is about 690, but that's about 100 less than this year. In 2016, the average was about over 900 mm, 162 mm higher than this year. So we are much like 2016. The plum rain season in 1998 in Huangpi, the precipitation was only above 200, but in southern part of Wuhan, like Jiangxia, it's about 890 mm. So the southern part of Wuhan has larger precipitation than northern part. But in 2016, northern part and southern part doesn't have such differentiation. Thank you. Next question, please. From CCTV. My question is, what are the characteristics of the flood in Yangtze River and will be the trend in the next few days? Now let's give the questions to Mr. Chen. In the flood season this year, in Yangtze River, the water level is already high in May, and when it enters into June, the mainstream of Yangtze River has slowly seen the increase of the water level. By the end of June, after June the 29th, particularly in the downstream and midstream of Yangtze River, we have high concentration of rainfall. And in early July, the upstream of Yangtze River has proper rain. And the flood firstly came in the upstream of Yangtze River, and then it transmits to midstream and downstream, particularly in Dongting Lake, Poyang Lake, because of the strong rainfall. After the water conjuncts with each other, the flood forms in the mainstream of Yangtze River. Since the evening of July the 12th, we have been working hard to control the flood. The highest water level has been 28.77 meters, and this morning we decreased that number by about 0.1 meter to 28.67 meter. So the whole city has been above the warning line. Recently, the precipitation in the two lakes I mentioned has stopped. So we estimate that in the next few days, with the rainfall decreasing in the two lakes, the mainstream of the Yangtze River will see a lowering of the water level. But since the two lakes already have stored a lot of water, such a decrease of the water level will only take place very slowly, and according to the forecast, by the end of July, it will decrease to below 27.3 meters. But it takes time. And taking into account of the precipitation situation right now, the upstream of Yangtze River, which is the main battlefield of this flood control campaign, will gradually move to the downstream of Yangtze River. And we will see precipitation continuously in midstream and downstream of Yangtze River, including Wuhan city. So we still cannot drop the vigilance. For the flood fluctuation in the future, we have to pay attention to possible flood in the upstream of Yangtze River. As to the downstream and midstream, there will be partial and local flood, and there may be backlogging of the city. So we have to be fully prepared for possible flood. It's July the 14th, so the flood in the upstream will have to continue according to our historical record, maybe lasting until the first half of August. And for the midstream and downstream, usually the decreasing of the water level takes place very slowly. So we still have to have monitoring about the water breaks when the water is backing. We cannot drop the vigilance. When the water recedes, we are still facing the hazards of flood. There may be the landslide or the waterlogging. To that end, there will be a lot of uncertainties about the flood in the future, and we have to stay alert. Thank you, Mr. Chen. The gentleman sitting in the first row from news agency. My question is about the change of the water level. What will be the measures taken to control the water level? And I'm going to ask Mr. Chen Jianjun to take your question. Thank you for your question. Considering the high water level right now, when the water is receding, we have to abide by the rules of the flood. And according to the rules, we are still facing high uncertainties and high hazards of flood outbreak. So we have to maintain the second level emergency response standard. For one hand, we will detailize our monitoring efforts to the dams and honor our commitments. And we also have to have coordination between departments, for example, the Transportation Bureau, Electricity Bureau, and other logistics bureau in the city to practically honor their commitments to flood control campaign with the coordination, so that in the next few days, Wuhan City will win this battle of flood control. Thank you, Mr. Chen. And the gentleman sitting in the third row, please. My question is that since we are under severe pressure of flood control and we have high needs for the materials of flood relief, so what about the situation of those materials? I'm going to give the question to Mr. Yu Siyuan to take your question. Thank you for your question. The rescue materials have been under management. We have a center in Hongshan district taking about 150 square kilometers. It has the constant temperature in that place. We have some foldable beds, the bedding. In total, we have about 50,000 items with over 25 categories of those materials. We have signed an agreement about those rescue materials. For food that is difficult to be stored, we will immediately dispatch them for the flood once the flood breaks out. And there will be two manners of preparation for those materials. In emergencies, according to the coordination of the Emergency Response Bureau, we can mobilize those resources at the disposal of the Emergency Response Bureau. My question is, since Wuhan people have always been living along the Yangtze River, so we love swimming. Now, with the canceling of the July 16th festival, will there be a resumption of this festival in the second half of 2020? Madam Yan Fan will take this question. Thank you. Wuhan is located along the Yangtze River, and our civilians love water. That's why we have the most influential swimming activity, that is the July 16th Swimming Festival. But this year, because of the flood, regretfully, we canceled this festival. But it's my pleasure to tell you that Wuhan people's love for water will not be undermined, and the enthusiasm for swimming will be given an opportunity. So in the second half of this year, we will stage this festival about the marathon on water in Wuhan. The 308 candidates already prepared for crossing the Yangtze River will be invited to swim freely in the Donghu Lake in the second half of this year. The lady in the first row. From China News Services, my question is to Mr. Pan. During the flood season, what will be the activities under your direct control of Public Security Bureau? Thank you for your question. Since July the 1st, the Public Security Bureau of Wuhan City has taken the so-called 100-day activity in the city. During the flood season, we will enhance our control of the social order in Wuhan City and crack down upon the burglary or fraudulent behaviors like taking money from the enterprises or breaking the public facilities or making and spreading the rumors about the flood. All those activities that may undermine our flood control campaign or the social stability will be within our alertness. From Hubei Daily. My question is, in the future, the water level will continue to decrease. Does it mean that Wuhan has already passed this test of flood? And what are the reminders you would love to give us? Again, Mr. Chen Guiya, as I said, in the next dozen days, Wuhan will continuously see the slowly water receding. By the end of July, the water level will be controlled below the warning line. Flood is always a hazard. Even when the water recedes, it is easy to foresee some flood. For the midstream and downstream, particularly those water lines in Wuhan City, we have seen a long time of water level. Even the land has been immersed in water for such a long time, so waterlogging is always a danger. In 2016, the water level was 28.37. It's already been 4 years. So, even the mouse holes may be the potential hazards for our control efforts. Like I said, the precipitation in the upstream of Yangtze River in the future will be the key highlight. When the water flows from the upstream to downstream, it crosses through Wuhan City. So, Wuhan flood control situation will be under pressure. when the water recedes to some level, if one flood breaks out in the upstream, Wuhan City will be put under severe pressure of flood control again. So the flood season is not away yet, and our flood control campaign must be sustained and enhanced. We must be always prepared for the control efforts to guarantee that we could smoothly ride past this flood season. Under the leadership of the government and different departments, we have the confidence to win this battle of flood control in 2020. Thank you. In the interest of time, now this is the end of the Q&A session. Flood control has always been the top priority in Wuhan City. We have large river and large lakes, which have nurtured the Wuhan people, but we are also tested by the water. Heroes will not be beaten by the flood. We will win this battle of flood control. I hope we could further carry on the positive spirit and to contribute to